Arlington Mayor Jim Ross, thank you so much for joining us. Hard to believe, but it's been nearly a year since you were elected as mayor. And so I'm wondering how it's been going, what have you learned, and what have been your priorities since entering office?
Well, Lord, how much time do we have, Jack? I've learned a bunch. I'm still learning. I think this is an ongoing education. At first you just drink through a fire hose. I had never been in public office before, had no idea what really to expect. I've been a businessman and a trial attorney and done all of those things, but learning how to guide the city, how to keep us going in a right direction, was quite the undertaking. But it's been fun. It really has been fun. So keeping all the balls in the air is probably the biggest task we've had. So.
So, what are your priorities and what have you done to accomplish them?
Well, I guess it's multifaceted. First of all, um, uh, when I ran for mayor, I ran on the basis that Arlington needs to become more attractive for quality jobs. I mean, and when I say quality jobs, not just sort of service industry jobs within our entertainment district, but jobs that people can make a living off of, that they can raise a family with, that they can run their kids through college with, those type of things. And in order to do that, we had to get better at doing other things. We had to improve the perception of education in Arlington. We had to improve the perception of how safe our community is. We had to make sure that our infrastructure and transportation was top notch. So it was a matter of fitting everything together. And on top of that, one of the things nowadays that HQs and companies are looking for is really how well do you deal with social issues? How well do you treat each other? And that's critically important in big cities. Arlington is the most diverse community in all of North Texas. And we're the second most diverse in the entire state, number 8 in the country. And I look at that as a badge of honor and a real source of our strength. So I wanted to find ways that we can highlight that diversity and use that to better attract businesses that bring quality jobs here.
So you said a lot. So let's go through it. How do you measure whether you have improved the perception of public education, safety, and crime, and attracting those businesses? How do you measure that?
Well, we're in the infancy part of it right now, but let's talk about education first. One of the things that I learned early on is that we have some tremendously good educational leaders here in Arlington. Actually, in all of North Texas, there's tremendous educational leaders. The problem I saw was that educational leaders were staying in their own lane. They were all dealing with their issues, and there wasn't a collaboration of sorts that you find in the business world. When I'm trying a case as a trial lawyer, or if I'm putting together a new business, because I have a couple of restaurants, I'll bring together the experts in that field to say, okay, what do you think about this? Let's do this. We're going to do this over here. And I wasn't seeing that in the educational arena. So we created the Arlington Education Coalition that is made up of the public school systems that pull from our kids: Arlington, Mansfield, Kennedale, HEB, the charter schools that are in our city, the private schools, Oak Ridge, Pantego Christian, those type of schools here, and even the homeschooling association. But we also brought in early educators, TCC, UTA, Texas Wesleyan University, to bring them all together in a coalition to collaborate, to talk about what things we can do creatively to work together for the betterment of all of our students. Because every single educator from early education through the university system has one thing in common. They all want to do the best for the students. They all do. So we wanted to create a platform by which they can come together and collaborate and do that. So now we have the Arlington Education Coalition that these educational units can utilize as their badge of honor to say, we are a member of the Arlington Education Coalition. And our public school systems, all of them, Mansfield, Kennedale, Arlington, HEB, charter schools, and everybody, we will work together. We'll put our differences aside and work together to come up with strategies for the betterment of our kids. Now, I was elected, took office at the end of June of last year. We started the Education Coalition. I think the first meeting we had was in September. It is really starting to take some traction now, getting some traction now. And we're seeing a lot of good response from the organizations involved in that.
So are you talking about creating, in a sense, a pipeline of, from elementary to secondary to college and universities, where you're trying to create a pipeline of workers for a future workforce to stay in Arlington to attract those jobs? Is that what this is about?
Yeah, it's exactly what it's about. And see, here's the thing. I think my life and how I came up exemplifies what is more typical in Arlington than you see in some other cities. I didn't finish my undergrad till I was 35 years old. I was a Marine. I was a police officer. I finished my undergrad when I was 35. I got my law degree when I was 38. I didn't become a lawyer until I was 38. I took the path of most resistance. Okay. I squeezed 4 years of college into 13, but that was my path and it worked for me. And I think one of the things that we learn with our education coalition and this conduit that we have is paths are different for different people. The key thing is, how do we prepare our kids for life after school? Sometimes that life after school may mean high school. In other words, they may want to be a firefighter. So we have in Arlington our firefighter academy through our career and technical center. Where they can get an associate's degree at high school. They can go through a firefighter academy. It may mean being a mechanic. It may mean something that doesn't take them to college. So how are we preparing them for that? And how can we take those ideas that are facilitated and created by maybe entities like AIASD that's a little bigger and has a little bit more money, and allow others to sort of piggyback on those ideas and say, listen, maybe we can do something similar on a smaller scale. That's where that collaboration helps. And what we're starting to find now are those relationships are being built. And now they're starting to have an exchange of ideas, an exchange of facilities, an exchange of things that benefit the kids, which is the first and foremost thing that we need to be doing.
Wanted to ask you about economic development. Do you have any new projects that you and the city are set to announce? And how is it going in the entertainment district where your big stadiums are? I know there was a new hotel going up. I guess Lowe's Part 2, is that right?
That's right. And Lowe's Part 2, 3, and 4, it looks like, because it's so huge. You're talking about a 20-story hotel with 888 rooms and 250,000 square foot convention space in this thing. It is a massive facility that will be connected via a walkway to Live by Lowe's right now with its 330 rooms there. What a tremendous thing. Now, I can't get into a whole lot of other stuff, but we're not done. Just stand by for some of the stuff that's going to be coming in the entertainment district. It is absolutely exciting about what's going on. Not only do we have that, but we have already broken ground now on the National Medal of Honor Museum. That is the first national museum in the entire state of Texas. That helps to anchor our entertainment district to be more than just a sports entertainment, to be more than just Six Flags, to be more than Hurricane Harbor, but to start to create that cultural museum base there that is going to be second to none. We are traveling the country still raising money for this museum. It is recognizing the men and women who have received the Medal of Honor and served this country. You know, I'm a veteran myself. Over 40 million people have served this country. Only about 3,500 have received the Medal of Honor. That is such a unique accomplishment, and it's such an honor to have that museum coming to Arlington.
How much more money do you need to raise?
We've raised a little over 160 million right now. So we have maybe about 90 million left within the budget on there. Now, you know, COVID has put a little spike in our cost of materials and construction. So it may go a little bit higher than that, but we're well ahead of where we need to be. So we're doing good.
And when is your goal to, raise that 90 million that you have left?
We'll have, give us another year and a half, and we'll have the thing done.
And does that mean built, or does that mean, have that money raised to finish it?
I think we're anticipating a 2024 grand opening of it. And I think we'll have the rest of the money in place by then as well.
I wanted to ask you about the GM plant. What do you hear from General Motors? Obviously, that plant has been one of their success stories because it is the only plant in the United States for GM that builds the full-size SUVs, the Chevy Tahoe, the Suburban, the GMC vehicle, and the Cadillac. And so what are their plans? Because now GM is really heavily investing in its electric platforms. So where does that plant stand from what you can tell?
You know, we have a very, very close relationship with GM, as you can imagine. They've been here for decades. They've recently invested over $1 billion in the expansion of that plant over there. So they're not going to be going anywhere soon, even with the transition to some of the electrical vehicles out there in the EVs. We don't know if they're going to ultimately be built in Arlington, if they're going to be built somewhere else. We don't know what's going to happen with that, but the demand for their SUVs isn't going anywhere anytime soon. We anticipate a very long relationship with GM. This is one of their most profitable facilities here in Arlington. Like you said, they do all the full-size SUVs right here. So if you're buying those vehicles, you're getting them from Arlington. So we don't anticipate them going anywhere at all.
Wanted to ask you about transportation, specifically about the highway projects that you have going on there, particularly the interchange between I-30 and State Highway 360. Where do things stand right now, and how quickly is that going to be done? Because that's been seemingly endless.
I feel like, when I came here in Arlington in '83 and became a police officer, they started that project. I know that's not the truth, but it certainly feels like that project has been going on forever. And I wish I could say we're going to have it done this year. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're still going to be struggling for another 2 or 3 years on this thing before we can get it completely done.
Why?
You know, there was I get a bunch of different stories. There's and you're going to have to forgive me because I've only been mayor for a year now, but problems with COVID and everything slowing down with COVID, problems with the staffing issues and with materials and all of those type of things. The bottom line is it's taken too long. We need to get this thing wrapped up. The businesses around there deserve it. The community deserves it. People are tired of driving through all the construction.
And so let me ask you about crime. how has that impacted your city? Are you seeing an increase in violent crime as many cities across the country have? And what are you doing about it?
Yeah. So yes, we are seeing an increase in violent crime like everybody else is doing. And when you speak to the police chief and all of the experts in that area, there's no true understanding about why that increase has happened. Although people suspect it may have something to do with COVID. You know, I think my grandmother used to tell me idle hands are the devil's workshop, you know. So if people are sitting around doing nothing, it gives them more time to get into bad stuff. We don't know, but there's a number of things that we're doing. We have Operation Connect here in Arlington. There's two things I think that the cities need, especially big cities like ours, to help keep the crime down and give people a sense of safety in the community. One of the things is we have to get back to the old fashioned neighborhood policing, having police officers and the people in their community know each other. And Operation Connect just does just that. We're putting police officers in the barbershops to have the barbershop chats. We're having kids that are coming in to get their hair done, sitting down talking to our cops now. People that wouldn't come. If you just do a cookout and you say, oh, come out and meet the police, kids aren't going to come out for that stuff. They're just not going to do it. You have to go to where they are. So we're sending cops into the areas where the kids are for the sole purpose of saying, listen, we're not the bad guys here. You can talk to us. We're normal human beings. We have to make sure that we reach back to the community and we make that connection. That's why it's called Operation Connect. The second thing is there has to be transparency that people feel safe. Good communication. When you reach back out to people and you develop that connection, you have to be transparent. People would ask me when I was running, well, how do you feel about citizens review boards and all of that? I'm not in favor of them because what happens is you have non-expert people sitting in judgment of things that have happened in the police. Police have a good system of how to police their own with internal affairs and all that, but the breakdown happens far too often when there's a lack of transparency. So with Police Chief Jones here in Arlington, he's really worked hard at being very transparent. People need to have answers quickly. And in today's policing, we have that opportunity to give people answers quickly. You have body cams that we didn't have back when I was a cop in the 80s. You had to wait a while to really get those details out. But nowadays, we can get the information out to the public quickly. And let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with if you screw up, if your city screws up on something, own it. One of the first things I had to do as mayor that broke my heart was we had a 3-year-old die in the city because of a splash pad contamination issue. I had to come on places just like what we're doing now and own it and say it was our fault and take responsibility for it. And that's something people aren't used to seeing in communities anymore. We're not used to seeing it in our country. We're not used to seeing it at a state level, and we're not used to seeing it locally. And for me, that's critically important. If you screw up, step up and own it.
Arlington Mayor Jim Ross, thank you so much for your time today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack. You take care. Have a good time. Good talking to you.
Nice talking with you as well. You take care.
Uh-huh.